I'm Ric Edelman. You know, young people, of course, invest in the best investment of all, themselves. They go to college and get a degree, but will that degree be worth it? And once you graduate, you're going to want to move out on your own. But before you pack up, I have some real advice for you. Also, there could be big money in tiny technology. And Jean Edelman will talk with us about catching the wave, even though she's not even a surfer. All that and much more on this edition of The Truth About Money.
This program is funded in part by TD Ameritrade. At TD Ameritrade, we support investors and independent registered investment advisors every day, providing access to tools, research, and educational resources that help you pursue your goals with confidence.
I'm Ed Burns. I've spent a lot of time around cameras. However, I've never actually swallowed one before. Till now. It's a camera the size of a pill that lets your doctor see inside of you. That's kind of awesome.
Technology is evolving. We believe the way to invest should evolve as well. A prospectus is available at 1-800-iShares, which includes investment objectives, risks, fees, expenses, and other information that you should read and consider carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal.
I'm Ric Edelman, and the truth about money is you need to get an education if you want to make more money than the next person. But is that all there is to it? Get a degree in whatever? Of course not. It's really just dollars and cents.
Hi Rick, this is Sarah from Times Square. I'm a student from Williams College in Massachusetts. I'm getting a degree in political science. My question for you is, will my degree ever pay for itself, and what steps can I take to have a successful future?
I'm really glad you're asking that question. In fact, I would have preferred it had you asked that question as a senior in high school before you decided to launch into that college career. But you're asking it still in good form, and it's really important that we address this issue. Too many kids go to college without any clue as to the marketability of the degree that they're about to pursue. They don't know if they can get a job at all. They have no idea what those jobs pay, and they really don't even understand the lifestyle of the career associated with it. Political science sounds like an awful lot of fun. Let's shake up the world. Let's really change how things go, only to discover that many of those with political science degrees are sitting in a cubicle responding to constituent questions about where's my Social Security check. So what we really need to do is figure out, is this a career you really want to be in? What does it really earn? Do you like the lifestyle associated with it? And is the cost of getting that degree really worthwhile? How best can you find that out? It's real simple. I want you to hook up with your university, have them put you in touch with recent college graduates of your major. Go talk to kids who are 2, 3, 4, 5 years out of school with political science degrees. Find out what they're experiencing in the workplace so that you can understand that they are where you are headed. And then go talk to graduates 10 and 20 years out of college, not just 2 or 3 or 4 years out of college, and see if you like their lifestyle, because again, they are where you are headed. And if you don't like what you hear, you're still an undergrad. You can still change your major. The rich and the powerful have slightly different lives than most of us, so we asked them just one question, Celebrity Edition. How do you invest your money?
We inherently invest everything we do in what we do in our restaurants, and it's a very risky business by nature. And you know, at this scale that we're in now, we're doing it and we're pretty big, so it's different. But we're always rolling the dice and reinvesting our profits in our restaurants and continuing to grow our business. So those are very, very risky investments.
I think it would be very dumb to put all your eggs in one basket, or it would be very dumb to spend a lot of money if you got some suddenly. I mean, you know, they're pretty obvious things. It's like everything else, you know. Buy low, sell high. That's good advice. Eat less, exercise more.
Koki is right. That's all good advice. And here's a little more for you recent college grads. You've earned the degree and you want to spread your wings. But before you fly solo, Listen to what I told other recent graduates at Roger Williams University in Rhode Island.
I'm graduating with about $40,000 in debt through school loans and about $2,000 in credit card loans, and I kind of want to move out of the house. How do I manage that debt along with moving out and trying to plan for retirement?
Tell me why you want to move out.
Just personal reasons of the household. Just being out on my own has made me kind of get distance away from the family lifestyle. So, I just feel as if it's time for myself to move on. I know that a lot of people have said, oh, it's cheaper for you to stay at home. But then again, what kind of growth can you get at home if you're staying in the same area?
Both points are valid. Sure, it's a lot cheaper to live at home with mom and dad and take the money you would have spent living on your own, throw that into savings and investments, build up a piggy bank so that you can then move out on your own more quickly and more effectively. So that's great. On the bad side, you're still living at home. You're in your 20s living under a roof of mom and dad. And so you're right. There are two different sides of that coin, and you need to decide for yourself which is the most effective course of action. Do you have a job lined up yet?
Currently, I am employed, kind of, but I'm starting to look for other work also, just because of the employment which was offered to me. I feel as if it's a dead-end kind of area. So that is not bad, because I know this income is going to be coming my way.
Good, and that's the real key to start with. You need to minimize your expenses until you establish yourself as a graduate with a career. Even if it's not the job of your dreams, if it's enough to get you by and get you started as a graduate so that you can afford your own place to rent and then begin to move into your career, you can always change that job in the next several months or the next couple of years. That's fabulous. So go ahead and do it in that fashion. In the meantime, minimize your expenses. Make the minimum payments to your credit cards and to your student loan until you have the income that you're looking for and the career path that you're fairly comfortable with, where you can then devote more of your income to getting rid of the credit card debt. In fact, let me give you the 4-step process on how you should handle your personal financial planning and your wealth creation following graduation. Step number 1 is to join your retirement plan at work. This, of course, presumes that you're going to have at work in place. So I guess that becomes step 0, is to get the job. So assuming you've got the employment, number 1 is to join your retirement plan at work and join to the maximum that your boss allows. Even if you feel you can't afford it, I'm going to tell you to do it anyway. Even if you have to sacrifice other things, such as going out at night and maybe splurging on other things, buying more clothes or taking vacations, what have you, I would argue that nothing is as important as your future retirement. So participate in the retirement plan to the maximum you can. Step number 1. Step number 2 is to pay off credit card debts. I'm not worried about your student loan. I'm not worried about car loans. I'm not worried about mortgages. I'm worried only about credit card and personal debt. They tend to be very expensive debt, tend to be not tax deductible. So let's get rid of those as quick as you can. Step number 3 is to build cash reserves. Take a look at how much money you spend on a monthly basis and multiply that times 12 to 24. I want you to have 1 year to 2 years worth of spending in a rainy day fund. So if you lose your job, or if you discover you gotta quit because you can't stand it anymore and you don't have another job lined up, or a major unexpected expense occurred, you've got to move and you weren't anticipating it, you incur moving expenses, or you need a new down payment in order to get into that next apartment, or a security deposit, or what have you, you've got a bucket of money that you can turn to without having to go into credit card debt all over again. So step number 3 is to build cash reserves. After you've built 1 year to 2 years worth of spending, not income, but spending in cash reserves, now you're ready for step number 4, which is to start investing in a long-term diversified investment portfolio. So it's that 4-step process. And it might take you a number of years to accomplish all 4, but take them one step at a time until you're making effective progress.
What portion of American adults aged 40 to 60 are helping to support both their parents and their children at the same time? Is it A, 2%, B, 7%, C, 13%? Stay tuned and we'll be right back with the answer.
If you're looking for a small investment that could someday pay big rewards, physicist George Skidmore says you might want to take a look at a tiny technology.
I've been in the field of microsystems and nanotechnology since I was a grad student for almost 20 years.
In the entire world of technology, I think one of the coolest is nanotechnology, making really nifty machines at a really tiny scale. You've been doing this for pretty much your entire career, ever since you were a grad student.
So I've been in the field of nanotech for that long, for sure. There are now, I think, just starting to be really nifty machines at the nanoscale. There's certainly been nifty machines at the microscale for much longer time. You have several of them now.
Like what?
So the accelerometers or inertial sensors that are in your mobile phone, your iPhone if you have one, that enable you to play games, tilt the phone around or the iPad around. Those machines that monitor that motion are micro machines. They're only going to get smaller over time, and they're only going to get more capable. So I think we're just now looking at the start of micro machines that are in consumers' hands.
And what might these machines be able to do for us?
So the current hot topics of research are micro machines that are going to be activity sensors and then health sensors. So machines that will attach to your body or even go into your body. There's micro machines now that are smart camera pills that you swallow, and they'll take pictures of your stomach and your intestines. So there are implanted micro machines too. Generally, only if you're sick would you accept an implanted micro machine.
I'm thinking of a pacemaker. It's pretty big.
Pacemaker is a very big example. A perfect large example. So there are now micro machine examples, a pressure sensor that can be implanted into an artery. So if you've had a heart attack, a doctor can implant a pressure sensor into your artery and then continuously monitor your heartbeat and blood pressure. But you would only do that if you'd had a heart attack.
Might some express fear over the wrong things being implanted into your body? Talk about the dark side.
So there certainly, I think, will be a dark side. We hear them in the news all the time of this computer system being hacked and that company being hacked. When you have body sensors that are either inside or on your body, and a wireless network that connects all those sensors that can continuously monitor your health, really give you some upfront look at when you're developing some abnormality that maybe you should have checked out. That's a wonderful thing if used correctly. It'll be a terrible thing if used wrong.
How do we protect against that?
So I would say we try to protect against it up front, but I'm not sure we're particularly good at that. Now, is it really safe? Is it really protected? Is it unhackable? Always gets thought of last. And it's just culturally hard to fix that.
So what's your message for investors?
So my message for investors is to watch the fields of micro machines and nanotechnology, not as specific industries, but as technology that feeds into existing industries. So they are the things that are going to continue to, push development. There's still a lot of large companies that are in nanomaterials, for example. The micro machines are generally a small part of a larger semiconductor company. Examples being Hewlett-Packard, Texas Instruments, ST Microelectronics. They're the big microsystems players, and their revenue is maybe 10% or less in microsystems and 90% in semiconductors. So I can't find a lot of good pure plays in this field. I'm, I guess, personally kind of a conservative investor. And
recognize the high level of risk, the long-term focus, and be careful.
Yep.
For students, what would you recommend college?
For students, right now, I still think the field of micro machines is a good one to go into. The field of nanotechnology is one to go into carefully. I no longer believe that students should concentrate on one discipline. I think multidisciplinarity is what students should do. They should find a way to learn physics and learn genomics and learn biology and bring them all together, because that's where the convergence of these technologies is happening is what's going to be good for them.
What portion of American adults aged 40 to 60 are helping to support both their parents and their children at the same time? The answer is C, 13%.
I believe every parent wants to help their children succeed in this world, but when is the cost of your child's success a price that's too high for you to pay? Everyone has their own view on that, including this recent caller to my radio show. Marcus, welcome to the program.
I'm 65, I'm retired. My youngest daughter, when she went to school, went to George Washington University, which at the time was the most expensive school in the country. And between that and her graduate school, I spent over $250,000. And I know you've talked many times about the worth of a college education. Anyway, to me, it is worth it. She's a forensic scientist now. She's doing very well. She's very happy in her job. But something happened a couple of months ago. While she was working, she was in a car accident, and I started to think, well, what would happen? I have all these school loans now, which, by the way, are down to $87,000. I hope to have them paid off in another 5 years. If she should have been killed in the accident, and I know nobody wants to talk about their child's death, I told my wife, I said, well, they have all this insurance, she and her husband, maybe they should just pay off the loans because I've been paying them ever since she's been out of school. So if something tragic should happen, I mean, I don't see any problem with they have ample insurance. Why?
Well, you're raising a really important issue there, Marcus, and what it comes down to is this. If the student loans are in her name and she dies, then the loans are forgiven. If the loans are in your name, then obviously the loans still have to be repaid, and that is why, in fact, there is a need for life insurance in that case. We always phrase it in this very simple way. Who suffers financially by somebody's death? If your daughter were to die, then you would suffer financially. But if you were arguing that you're paying the debt anyway, you're not dependent on her repaying you this money, then you could argue, well, whether she lives or dies.
Yeah, then you don't need it.
It really, but fundamentally, you're right. If there's a huge outstanding debt that someone is going to have to pay, that's what life insurance is for.
Let me backtrack because Marcus mentioned something about education, and I think sometimes people misconstrue our message. We've always been advocates of education and college degrees. What we've questioned, though, is spending enormous amounts of money on school to get a degree in a line of work that just doesn't compensate you for it. And we've seen too many people have massive loans that really jeopardize their retirement, or if it's in the loans are in the name of the child, their ability to buy houses. So that's kind of been our focus, which is, hey, look, you've got to factor in the cost of college. But Marcus did that. He's been able to service the loans, and he certainly doesn't have any regrets. It's worked for him.
I think it's a value proposition more than anything else. I mean, we want you to have the education, but we don't want you to pay more than you have to for it.
Right.
It's the same with the house. It's that same argument that you always get when you tell people to have a big mortgage. Yeah. On the cheapest house that fits your lifestyle.
Right.
Not on a $1 million house.
Right. And we have to remember two very important statistics when it comes to college. First, 33% of college freshmen drop out. 1/3 don't go back to school for their sophomore year. So how would you feel, Mom and Dad, writing a check for $50,000 and having the kid never go back?
Yeah.
That $50,000 is gone with no value. Second, less than 50% of students graduate. So do you really want to spend $100,000, $150,000 only to discover the kid doesn't get the degree? So this goes to Brendan's point. If your kid's going to enter the sciences, going to go to grad school for, say, a psychology degree, or go to medical school, engineering school, law school, business school, sure, we could argue that spending $200,000 for an undergrad degree might make sense. But if your kid is going to become an English major or become a school teacher or nursing or fields that simply don't have the financial reward in the career, you really have to question why you're spending this huge amount of money for the undergrad degree. I'll take it a step further. I find it extraordinarily rare for the HR department to ask the child, did you attend all 4 years at the school that you graduated from? They only want to know where the degree came from. They aren't demanding you spend all 4 years there, so why not go to community college for 2 years and then transfer into that 4-year school, which is where you'll get the degree from? The recruiter will never know you spent 2 years at the community college.
And they won't care even if they know.
And you'll save $100,000. So there are lots of ways to pay for college that make economic sense, that don't interfere with the child's career or life or social relationships. Our attitude is, in today's environment, with college costing so much money, we have no choice but to make those evaluations. It's really that simple. So, Marcus, if there's a financial risk that you face from your daughter's death, buy life insurance on her. Good news is it's extraordinarily cheap. A couple of $100 a year because she's young and she's healthy. Life insurance is dirt cheap these days.
Right.
How can you profit from some of your worst financial mistakes? Simple. Just take the stage at the DC Improv.
I can't afford to go out anymore either. I used to like going out with my friends, having a couple drinks. I can't do that anymore. It's expensive because you go out, you got to pay for drinks, and then if you drink too much, you got to pay for a cab. Then you got to pay for a cab home in the morning. It's a lot of money. My buddy was telling me that there's actually this one taxi service where what they'll do is they'll send a guy out to you, and he'll actually drive your car home for you. And at first I was like, that's great. Then I started to think about it a little bit. How's that guy getting home? Is this gonna get awkward later? I got out of the car, I'm like, all right, man, here's 20 bucks. And he's got like pajamas and a pillow. He's like, all right, listen, man, I could take the couch and we could go head to toe. It's up to you. And now I'm dating that guy, so there you go.
If you could ask a financial planner just one question, what would it be? Here's one we get all the time. If you could give someone just one piece of financial advice, what would it be?
Start early, and you can never save too much. No one ever comes in and says, I've saved too much. All too often, though, they come in and they say, I've saved too little, and often it's too late. So their lifestyle needs to be altered. Their dreams of retirement have to be significantly altered and changed.
The best piece of advice I could give somebody would be to spend less money than you take in. And I think that sounds pretty simple, but it really comes down to creating a budget, so that you can keep track of your expenses. What we don't want to do is live paycheck to paycheck and then pull out the credit card when it's time for an expense like a vacation or the car breaks down. You need to plan ahead for things like that.
Something else we should plan ahead for is staying away from troublesome situations. We've all known people we should steer clear of. Sometimes, though, it's easier said than done. So here's Jean, my wife and business partner, with a few tips on intuition in the other side of money.
Catching the wave is understanding nonverbal communication. It's constantly going on. And if we can pick it up, we'll know whether we're in the right place or the wrong place. Ever walk into a room and just know you don't want to be there? Ever walk up to a group of people and just know that the conversation is not something you want to be a part of? Our body actually sends off signals that if we're happy or we're mad or we're angry and if you're walking into a situation, you can pick that up sometimes. I think that it's really important to be able to read a situation because that determines whether we want to go into it or not. Children are great at reading people, and somewhere along the line we kind of lose that skill. As a young person walking into a situation where you don't know anyone and it's an unfamiliar place, your ability to read the situation could really be beneficial. As an adult walking into a business situation, maybe don't know anybody, but you know that it's an important business affair, it could be really important to see if someone's smiling, they're happy, they're engaged. That could be very helpful for your career. When you catch the wave, it feels really good because it empowers us. We're not dragged into something, we're choosing to encounter, and that's very healthy.
Thanks, Jean. She's always had great insight into people. A few final words about our show today. If you want to go to college, do a little homework on how to catch the wave of your financial future. Once you get your degree, you're going to want to move out of that house, but don't until you're truly ready, or you could end up living in one of your moving boxes. And that is the truth about money. I'm Ric Edelman. See you next time. To learn more about the topics we discussed on this episode and a chance to ask your questions, visit our website at truthaboutmoneytv.com and stay connected by liking us on Facebook and following us on Twitter.